All right, we're going to be looking at the ranch fire, our first fire that we're doing an update and forecast on for the 2025 season. The reason I'm doing an update on this is it is over 4,000 acres and it's still showing up as 10% containment. Although the main question we're going to be asking throughout this video is it still actively burning? I mean, if we look at watch duty, that's what it looked like yesterday. It started, we have the exact time, it started around 1:45 p.m. yesterday. And then when I read the update this morning, I looked at this and it said began mop-up operations. Whenever we see that mop-up operations, that's usually kind of a sign that things are moving in the right direction. Although it did say weather will feature low humidity around 15% and increasing southerly winds with gusts up to 32 miles per hour this afternoon. So I was just keeping a close eye on this one throughout the day today. And I guess a good place to start with the ranch fire is just figure out exactly where it is. It's San Bernardino County. If I zoom out here, you can kind of see Los Angeles right there. And then if we zoom in here, see the ranch fire. This map also kind of shows how the fire progressed throughout the day yesterday. If you look very closely, you can see those gray lines right there. That's where the fire perimeter was originally. That's where that second fire perimeter was. And then you can see it continued to mostly move up towards the northeast throughout the day yesterday. And if we look at structures around, that's always one of the first things that we look at. How close is the fire to structures? Click them on and off right here. It's those yellow dots that are going on the screen. There actually is a decent amount of structures up towards the northern side of this fire. But if we zoom in here, looks like they were able to stop it right before those structures. It's about as close as you possibly could be. But it looks like they steered the fire around it. So it looks like they did a pretty good job of protecting structures yesterday, although you do see some within the fire perimeter right there. As always, I'll remind you that just because you see structures within the fire perimeter doesn't mean that they've actually burned. Within a fire perimeter, you can have areas that had high severity burning, medium severity burning, and some spots like islands where it didn't even burn at all. And a lot of times crews do get in there and protect those structures within the fire perimeter. So don't exactly know what happened to those ones on the ground. Now, one thing I was also looking at this morning is if we look at all satellites and then zoom out, see how there's some yellow stars on there? It might be easier if I turn the structures off. This morning, those were still showing up as red, meaning there was some heat within the last 24 hours. But the fact that we're not seeing any of those red stars anymore tells us that, I mean, it looks like this fire is basically out at this point. And if we look at the satellite imagery, it should be somewhere around here. And you're not seeing any smoke coming off of the fire either. I mean, one other thing that we can look at is go to natural color fire, and it'll pick up some heat detections. It's most likely that burn scar right around there. But you're not seeing, if there is a fire actively burning, that would be bright orange. And that's not what we're seeing. So it looks like even though that forecast for this afternoon was extremely dry and windy, if we turn on those wind plots, it wanted to continue to push this fire up towards the north into those structures. But I mean, based on all the information we can collect right now, it looks like this thing is basically out. So you might say, why did I do my first update and forecast on a fire that's already out? And it's just because I know there's probably some people in this area that are still seeing that number that says 10% containment. There's still an evacuation order in place. Obviously, you still want to pay attention to that. But based on the information we're able to collect, it seems like we can kind of reduce some of the fear and anxiety that you might have out there if you do live to the north of this fire. As always, though, if anything changes, I'll have another update. Hopefully this was helpful, and thanks for watching.